Hello and welcome to Master Your Mindset with your host, Isis Foster. This is the place to be for anyone who is on a personal development journey. I will be sharing with you my own mindset hacks and personal past experiences. Please subscribe and share if you enjoy what I'm about to share with you and you've taken value from it. You never know who may need to hear it. Welcome back to this week's episode of Master Your Mindset, guys. I am so excited to be sharing with you a topic which is going to help so many of you. It's all about making yourself a priority. And in this day and age, it is so easy to get wrapped up in the things that create so much stress, the things which we feel like are moving at 100 miles per hour with, social circles, events, work, everything right now feels like it's go, go, go. And in the midst of all of that, it's so easy to forget about our needs and what do we need as individuals in order to get through those hard, busy times. So we are going to be talking about how you can make yourself a priority. And for the majority of people listening, I hope you've already started your personal development journey. But for anyone that is new here, this is the number one thing that you need to be able to do for yourself in order to show up as your higher self. So making yourself a priority sounds so simple to do, but actually taking those words and putting those words into actions in your day-to-day life can sometimes be a bit trickier. So I hope from this podcast episode, you are able to take away some value which you can actually implement into your day-to-day life so that you can show up for yourself and for those around you as your higher self. So how do we know if we are making ourselves a priority or if we're not making ourselves a priority? So this is actually a question that I get asked so often with the clients that I coach and also with friends and family that I have around me. They always say, "Oh, Isis, you always look so happy. You always look so like chilled. You look like you're glowing. Like, why is that?" And hand on heart, I can tell you honestly right now that the reason why that is because I am always on a mission to make myself a priority. That may sound super selfish, and some of you that are used to putting people before you may feel really guilty if you are beginning to but make yourself a priority. But in the long run, not only does it help you, but it more importantly helps everyone around you, because when you start showing up as your higher self and you're putting your needs above others so that you can then help those around you, people will thank you for it in the long run. So how do we know if we are making ourselves a priority, guys? The number one way you can tell if you are making yourself a priority or if you're prioritizing other things is that you will either feel good in yourself or you'll feel constantly burnt out. If you are somebody, and I speak about this topic from experience because I used to be somebody who would say yes to absolutely everything, even if inside, deep down, I really wanted to say no. After work drinks, yeah, sure, I'll be there. Let's go out till crazy o'clock in the morning on a Friday night. Yeah, sure, I'll be there. Oh, do you want to come to mine? Not really, but okay, yeah, sure, I'll be there. How about you make us dinner? I don't really fancy doing that. I'd rather get a takeaway, but yeah, sure, I'll do that. Saying yes to things which you actually want to say no to is a massive sign that you are not making yourself a priority. And as somebody who used to say yes to absolutely everything, I know how detrimental that can be to your development in the personal development world. If you are somebody who constantly says yes to everything, but really you want to say no, or you don't really know what you want, but you just say yes anyway, you're saying to yourself, like, your needs are not as important as those around me. So I'm going to do what I think everyone else wants me to do. And I'm just going to quieten the voice inside of me because that voice doesn't mean as much as those people around me. And the problem with quietening that voice is when you start to do it, you will not notice it. You will think you're just being kind to other people. You'll think that you're going out of your way to meet their needs. But over time, the more you quieten the voice, the more resentment you will build for those around you, and the more annoyed you will feel internally that you didn't speak up in the first place. And I have witnessed this firsthand on so many occasions. That person in the group that you always think is so nice and will go with the flow and is just such a yes person, eventually will hit a point where saying yes is actually enough and they no longer want to do what everyone else wants to do. And everybody hits this point at a different time. So if you have got a big group of girlfriends, for example, you've got 5, 6 of you, and everybody is just going along with what everybody else thinks that they should say, eventually you will notice that that group will begin to break off because people will get annoyed with saying yes to things they actually want to say no to. So if you are somebody who puts everybody else before you, you put everybody else's needs above your own, and you are somebody who doesn't like to go against the grain, even though you don't want to do what everyone else is doing, you're probably going to feel a bit guilty at the start. It's completely normal. If you feel a bit guilty, that's absolutely fine. Eventually people will appreciate you more and have more respect for you if you just stand up and say exactly what you're feeling, rather than just going along with what you think everybody else wants to hear. And you might feel a bit selfish in this sense as well. But again, over a period of time, you'll be putting boundaries in place so that when it hits a certain time in the night and you do want to go home, people will just know you want to go home and it's not the end of the world. So if you are in that predicament right now, maybe you've got a big friendship group, maybe you've got a really stressful job, maybe you are in a relationship where your partner decides everything that you do and you never really get a say in it, although you would like to have a say. There are things that you can implement from right now to be able to change all those situations. So my number one thing, and I honestly swear that this is the thing that makes me so happy. I used to be somebody who had to be around people all of the time. If I knew that I was going to have a night alone or an afternoon alone, I would literally be scrolling through my phone list, trying to find somebody who was also free at that time. And in the moment, when you're actually with them, yes, that's nice. But then afterwards, you are actually giving out a percentage of your energy, which you are never going to get back from that person. When you share your time with someone, that is so precious and you don't ever get time back, which is why now I am so grateful of all the time I have to myself. I love my partner so much, I love my family so much, and I love my friends so much, but my alone time is so precious to me now that I would not trade that for anything. And during this alone time, everyone's so different, but for me in my alone time, I absolutely love just doing things which I know that I wouldn't get done if other people were there. It's almost like a therapy to-do list. It helps me so much knowing that I'm getting all my ducks in a row for the next thing that's coming. Like the weekend I've just had is the first weekend in so long that I have been completely on my own. And it honestly felt like a breath of fresh air. I was doing things around the house which I wouldn't usually have time to do, but because I had literally like 3 days in a row to be able to do those tasks, I actually found it quite therapeutic. So if you are somebody who is go all the time, and then it gets to a point where you know you're going to be on your own, don't freak out. Like, don't rush to pick up your phone to try and find somebody who also is going to be free for you to kill your time. Take a moment, find out, are there things around this house that I need to do? Are there things that I would actually like to go out and do alone? Don't look for that company. Look to do things that are going to better you. And one thing which I think honestly makes me have the biggest smile on my face is having non-negotiable tasks that I can actually tick off. If any girls on this podcast are like me, we all have that massive to-do list, right? But how often do we tick off everything that we have got on that to-do list? For me, it's very rare that if I write a to-do list of like 20 things, I'm able to tick them all off. for multiple reasons. You get distracted, you don't have enough time, some things just aren't as much of a priority as the others. So the thing that I have knuckled down with is making sure I've got to-do lists which are manageable. So I never put more than 3 things on my to-do list. And yes, we all have more than 3 things which we need to tick off, but make sure that your non-negotiable tasks are things that you actually need to do. So for me personally, the 3 things which I will do every single day is I will do some sort of workout, or like I'll move my body. So I'll go outside for a walk, or I'll go to the gym, or I'll do a class. And then I will journal. That is an absolute non-negotiable for me. If I don't do that, my brain feels completely fried. And then my 3rd thing is I will stick to my meal plans. So if I have planned to have something certain to eat that day, I will have that. Obviously, there comes with exceptions, like if I've got a meal planned out or if I'm going to see friends, example. But those 3 things, I know that if I do complete those in a day and I can say that I have done those are 3 things which make me feel really proud in myself. So if you have got things which you know are going to make you feel good in the long run, make sure that they are your non-negotiables and make sure that you get them done, because you get a sense of achievement when you complete something which you say you're going to do. So if you are going to tell yourself you are going to go and see your friend today, don't bail on your friend last minute. Do what you are going to say you're going to do. And I promise you, when it gets to the end of the day, you are going to feel so much better in yourself. Because I have been that girl in the past who's like, I'm going to go to the gym for an hour, I'm then going to come home and have a protein shake, then I'm going to go on a hot girl walk, and then I'm going to meditate. And the list was literally like a 5-hour long list. It would have probably taken me, 5-6 hours to do. And then you just feel really deflated when you get to the end of that list and you actually haven't even ticked off anything because it's just been so overwhelming. The thought of having to tick off all of those things, if you overwhelm yourself with different tasks to do, you actually end up doing the opposite. You end up actually doing none of those tasks. So that's why I tell you to make sure when you are making tasks and non-negotiable things for yourself to do, make sure they are manageable things, realistic things that you can actually tick off, and things which are going to help you in the long run. And if this isn't your first Master Your Mindset podcast that you've listened to, you will know, girls, that I speak about journaling so much. And a good way to check in with yourself, to make sure you are making yourself a priority, is to journal daily. If you need any kind of journal prompts, I will drop some on my stories via Instagram this week for you all, because journaling is such a good way to jot down everything that you've got going on in your brain right now and to be able to dump it down. Plus, if you can't afford a therapist or a coach, it's a really pocket-friendly way to be able to dump all of your inner thoughts down, and it's so healthy to do. Honestly, I could not imagine getting through a day now without being able to journal at the end of it, because it just clears your mind. It's almost like if you're in a car and it's pouring down with rain, it's putting the windscreen wipers on for you so you can actually see again. And leading on from that, I never do that when I'm with anyone. So I like to journal in my own space. I find it quite distracting when there's like a TV on in the background, or if a podcast was playing whilst I was journaling, I'd find that really distracting. And the same as actually having a person there in real life. If I was with someone in the flesh, I wouldn't then just get my journal out. It's definitely something which I do alone, and I like it that way. But obviously everyone's different. If there's girls on here listening who don't mind their partner being next to them, then they journal, then girl, you do your thing. But for me personally, I like to just have it as alone time, and leading on from that, just spend time alone, because I was always that girl that was, like I said, rushing to the phone to find people to hang out with just to kill time so I wouldn't have to be in my own thoughts. But actually, being in your own thoughts is so healthy. To have a moment to think clearly without having any distractions around you. Like, how often does that happen? I want you to actually think about your own schedule right now. Like, how often do you get a moment completely to yourself if it's not you like on the toilet? Because I used to be that person where the only moment I'd get free completely on my own was whilst I was sitting on the toilet. So if you are somebody who is constantly go, 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 a million miles per hour, you've got so many social events, so many things to tick off your do list, and you're constantly running around, you need to make sure you are giving yourself at least 10 minutes a day where you are in solitude so you can clear your mind. I think it's so important that you are able to get rid of all of those thoughts and to actually just sit with yourself. I've worked with a lot of clients who find it so hard to sit in silence by themselves because they're so afraid of what's going to go on in their head. And the only way to push past that, girls, is to be able to just do it. It's going to feel uncomfortable if you're not used to sitting on your own in silence. And I don't mean that you have to meditate. I mean, in the morning when you're waking up, rather than putting on a podcast first thing in the morning or blasting the radio or putting the TV on, just have that 10 minutes in the morning whilst you're making your breakfast or you're making your smoothie to just be on your own and be with your thoughts. I used to always be someone who had to play Spotify first thing in the morning, and actually it's so refreshing to be able to just have a clear head and to have silence, because you wake up and the first thing you've got then is just banging music, and your energy will pick up on that. For example, if you wake up and the first thing you do is put on an aggressive rap song or a really emotional podcast, what do you think you are going to feel for the rest of that day? You take on absolutely everything you see, hear, feel and touch without even knowing it. So make sure you are starting your day right. Make sure that you can go into whatever setting you have to go into with a clear mind. And this one is probably one of my favourites because I'm all for treats. I am all for giving yourself something which you deserve. And let's be honest, as girls ourselves, we deserve the world. So make sure that you are giving yourself that. It doesn't have to be materialistic things. It can be something as simple as romanticising your iced coffee at home, because oh my goodness, that is honestly one of my favourite things to do. And that is coming from somebody who lives literally above a Starbucks. I could walk onto my balcony, look down, and there is a Starbucks right there. But I find it so wholesome to be able to make my own iced coffee. And by the way, I got really nice iced coffee glasses. And just make that at home, sit on my sofa and just drink it out of a glass straw. And that is the epitome of romanticising your everyday life. So if you are a girlie who likes iced coffee, then make sure that you are taking time to make that for yourself. Make it with love, enjoy what you're doing, and then enjoy whilst you're drinking it. And speak kindly to yourself as well. The number one way that you can make yourself a priority is the way that you come across to yourself. If you are somebody who just throws negative self-talk at yourself, how do you think you're going to feel? Are you going to feel uplifted and whole and super happy? Or are you going to think that you are the worst person ever? Because coming from the girl that, honestly, I couldn't even look at myself in the mirror. I used to want to cry when I would get out of the shower and for a second catch a glimpse of myself in the mirror. It was awful. But the moment that I started talking to myself nicely and saying things like, right, Isis, you deserve to have a body that you love. You deserve to love what you see in the mirror. You deserve to be proud of the way that you look. These are all things which you can implement into your day-to-day life. They don't cost anything. They don't take up any time. But the after effects of how you're going to feel once you start talking to yourself in this way are going to be phenomenal. So start by saying things that are kind to you. You need to think about it in the way that you wouldn't speak to someone who was really close to you like that. You wouldn't speak to your family. You wouldn't speak to your children with that negative tone. So why are you speaking to yourself like that? And make sure you're staying present. If you've told yourself you're going to have a bath because you're giving yourself that time to relax, don't then try and reach for your phone and start scrolling aimlessly on TikTok or Instagram or start messaging in the girls' group chat. I know it's so easy to do, but honestly, when I have a bath now, I put my phone on a 30-minute timer in the living room. I get in the bath and I've got no way of getting that phone. So I will only get out of the bath when that timer finishes. So if you're somebody who is easily distracted, I highly recommend doing that because it has helped me so much. And make sure you're staying patient with yourself. We all, in this day and age, want instant gratification. We want to be able to see the transformation straight away. And it's very rare that you will. Like anything that is worth having, it's always going to take a bit of time. So if you are starting out in your personal development journey and you don't really see any changes, hang on in there, because I promise you they're coming. It's just going to take a little bit of time, but it's the power of momentum. And the more that you show up for yourself and the more that you make yourself a priority, the bigger that snowball's going to come. The bigger that you are going to feel in yourself and the better you're going to be able to show up for yourself. And if I could give you one piece of advice, I know this links back to social media as well, because this is so easy to do on social media, but you really have to try to not compare yourself. And one thing that I've learned, which will stay by me forever, is the fact that what you see on social media is such a small glimpse of the reality of what is behind social media. And I think it's very easy to start comparing yourself to other girls on there, influencers, fitness models, but you actually have no idea what their backlog is. And I mean, we're all guilty of it. Even if I looked on my social media, like I try to be as real as possible on my social media. I show highs, I show lows, I share hard times, I show days when I really cannot be asked. Like, there is a whole mixture of things, in the hope that when someone clicks on my page, they don't just think that is a completely like scripted page. I never ever want to come across as that person. But for girls who feel things so deeply and are very quick to assume what other people's lives are, social media can be such a toxic place, just because there are obviously people out there who are showing the smallest, if any, part of their life. Most of it will be done for them to make money, to get more clients, to just act like they're living a certain life, but in reality they're really not. So just be wary that when you are looking on platforms like this, that you are making sure you are connecting and following and being inspired by people's real lives and not the pretend lives that they want you to see. So focus more on the things that you love. If you are a gym girly, get yourself in the gym more often. Book yourself some classes. Work with a PT. Show up for yourself. If you're somebody who loves going out for cocktails, then go and do it. Whatever it is that you love, take yourself out. And I am all for solo dates. If you had met me like 2 years ago, you'd be like, absolutely not. There is no way that girl would ever go out on her own. And I didn't, ever. I really didn't. I hated going out on my own. But over the course of the last couple of years, where I've really dived into this space, I love my own company. I love being able to think for myself. I love not having to conform to social circles because of what I think everyone else will want from me. Having that mindset gives you so much independence, and it almost makes you feel free. You feel like you've got this sense of freedom that actually it doesn't matter what everybody else is thinking, saying or doing, because I know what I want to think, say and do, so that's what I'm going to do. Make sure you're prioritizing your mental health in this journey as well, because without that, you honestly have nothing. You could have all the money in the world, all the cars, all the houses, all the family members in the world, but if your mental health is not in the right place, honestly, that means nothing. And that's coming from someone who has watched really close family members suffer mentally. And it is the most heartbreaking thing ever, because you almost want to give them your mind. And if you are somebody who has been in the personal development and self-growth space for a long time, when you get to a certain stage in this industry, you honestly, all you want to do at this point, like there is no amount of money now that would make me stop what I'm doing, because the powers that this industry and the power that having a good mindset has on the rest of your life and on everybody's lives around you is completely priceless. Like, I always think, I wish that I could give a part of the way that I think to everybody that I love. And I suppose I do in a way. And I think that's one of the main reasons I did create this podcast, in the hope that this would inspire other people and it would share a sense of self with them. Like, I know that I have a really healthy mindset, and my goal with this podcast is to share that and to be able to help other people who may potentially be struggling with areas which I flourish in. So if you are listening to this and you are struggling a little bit, I really, really do hope that you can take value from this. And I really hope that some of the things that I have shared in this podcast, you will be able to implement in your everyday life to make your life a bit easier. But I would say the top 3 things when it comes to prioritizing yourself is to stop saying yes to everyone. Like I said, I was that girl that said yes to everything, and all it did in the end was burn me out and make me feel shit. And I actually then started saying no to everything, which also does the same thing, because you then isolate yourself. You're in solitude with yourself and you're not around anyone. So you need to make sure you find the perfect balance. If you are somebody who doesn't enjoy drinking, but all of your friends drink, making yourself a priority in that situation would still be to not drink, even though everyone else is doing it. Don't conform to social circles just because that's what everyone deems as normal. Do what you need to do. Do what feels right to you. And the more often you do this, the more confidence you will build in yourself. And before long, you won't even think it's different to what everyone else is doing, because it's just the norm. And again, if you are somebody who is struggling, if you are somebody who feels like they are drowning right now mentally, don't be afraid to ask for help. My Instagram is Isis Foster 1, and my inbox is open to every single one of you who is listening and who needs a bit of advice. And let go of the things you can't control. I wish I had listened to this podcast 2 years ago, because I was the biggest control freak. I wanted to be in control of absolutely everything and anything. I was so nervous about what the outcome would be if I wasn't in control, or if I didn't overthink certain situations. I almost used to think, if I don't worry about this, then nothing good will come of it. I always tricked my brain into having to worry about things so that things would work out for me, which is now such a backwards way of thinking about it. But if you are somebody who overthinks and overanalyzes things, you need to just take a deep breath and know that everything is going to work out exactly how it is going to work out for you. Because from me to you, you are more than enough. You have everything inside you right now to be able to go and live that life which brings you happiness, joy, excitement, love, whatever it is that you want. You are more than capable of having that for yourself. Thank you so much for tuning in to this week's episode of Master Your Mindset, girls. This is all I have had time for today, but I hope you have taken a lot of value from this episode. My goal with recording each and every episode is that it shares a part of my journey with somebody that needs to hear how to get over a certain situation in their life. Again, my inbox is open to you all on social media. If there's anything you're struggling with, please do not hesitate to reach out and ask. I would love to help anyone who needs it. Have a beautiful week. Thank you all so much for tuning in to Master Your Mindset with your host, me, Isis Foster. If you have enjoyed what I have shared with you today, I would really appreciate it if you could share it on your social media platforms and tag me at Isis Foster 1. My goal with creating this podcast is to reach as many people as possible and help them get to wherever they want to be. So if you're in that position of being able to share this, it would be very much appreciated. Can't wait for you to tune in to the next podcast episode. Have an amazing week.